The violence between Israel and Palestinians has escalated rapidly. There have been clashes at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. Hamas is launching rocket attacks on Israel. Israel's carrying out airstrikes in Gaza. And the funerals have begun, with deaths on both sides. These tensions reach back decades, but why have they escalated now? Well, there are many reasons. Here are 6. The first concerns growing Palestinian protests. Some have been sparked by an imminent ruling on 6 Palestinian families who are threatened with eviction in the neighbourhood of Sheikh Jarrah. It's connected to a lawsuit brought by Israeli settlers, and these protesters see that as part of a broader effort to drive them from East Jerusalem. There have been regular clashes with the police. There have also been Palestinian protests at Damascus Gate in Jerusalem's Old City after Israeli police erected barricades. This was exacerbated by ultra-nationalist Israelis marching nearby. The next reason is the calendar. This year, the end of Ramadan has coincided with several important dates for Israelis.
There is also a few very combustible anniversaries, including Jerusalem Day. That's a day when mostly right-wing Israelis celebrate the conquest of East Jerusalem in the 1967 war. And they mark that usually with a flag parade that's very provocative and goes right through the Muslim quarter of the Old City.
The next factor is politics. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's under pressure. After the recent election, his rivals are now trying to form a new government. And Palestinian politics is also deeply divided. Hamas controls Gaza, Fatah controls the West Bank. Recent elections were postponed, much to Hamas's frustration. More broadly, Palestinians have felt marginalised after the US brokered the Abraham Accords. This normalised relations between Israel and the UAE and Bahrain. And so while neither Hamas or Mr. Netanyahu would put it this way, a conflict could serve political purposes for both. Bear all of that in mind, the protests, the dates, the politics, as we turn to the next factor, what happened in Jerusalem on Monday. Israeli police clashed with thousands of Palestinians in the compound of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Over 300 Palestinians and 20 police were injured. And this is all at a site which is hugely sensitive. It's sacred to Jews and Muslims. Afterwards, Israel blamed extremists. Palestinian leaders called it brutal. And the UN said this.
Tear gas, stun grenades, sponge-tip bullets, physical force. And in some cases that appeared unwarranted, disproportionate or indiscriminate.
Hamas in Gaza was watching these events. Our 5th factor was its decision to act. On Monday, around 6 p.m. local time, it began firing rockets. Israel swiftly launched multiple strikes in return, and this has continued. Hundreds of Hamas rockets, hundreds of Israeli airstrikes. Hamas and Israel's long-time animosity is playing out once more. And as it has, our 6th factor has also been on show. The rhetoric being used by both sides.
And we will further intensify the power of our attacks. Hamas will be getting blows it will not expect.
If they want to escalate, the resistance is ready. If they want to stop, the resistance is ready. If they want to move out of Jerusalem, the resistance is ready.
Language like that makes escalation more likely. Put all of that together and we start to explain the situation. But let's be clear, underneath recent events remains the long-term failure of Israel, the Palestinians and the world to find a lasting peace. And that failure explains what we're seeing now and why we'll see it again.